guys, Ron here, and about a month ago I asked you guys to send me some Fakemon for me to redesign. I did not pick the ones that were too good to improve, or the ones that weren't good enough to begin with, but rather ones with a lot of potential, but needed some kind of improvement. It was super fun translating them into Pokemon's art style and using Pokemon's design philosophy, so leave a like and subscribe to let me know if you guys want part 2. And if you want to participate in part 2, here are the 3 rules. You have to follow me on Twitter, and then create a Fakemon on white background, and tweet it out with hashtag TrueGreen7Redesign2. Try to add some kind of description of your Pokemon in your tweet, and if your design is on paper, make sure the picture is as clear as it can be and well lit too. But the most important thing is, don't tweet at me. Just make your own tweet and include the hashtag so I can sort through the submissions. Don't include at TrueGreen7 in your tweet. That is all. Let's just jump right into it. So the first Fakemon we're going to redesign was created by Toxiroxis. Their Shockalope is definitely a good concept and a great name. It's a combination of the mythical Jackalope and electricity. It's definitely something Pokemon would do, and honestly this Pokemon design has pretty much all the elements we need. I'm probably not going to add anything, but this video is a good opportunity for me to tell you guys what I believe, based on my experience, makes or breaks a believable Pokemon design. Always remember that Pokemon designs have to be translated into 3D models, 2D animation, action figures, plushes, and pretty much any kind of merchandise, so you never have room for extra details and everything must be somewhat streamlined. And that means even in a staticky Pokemon like this, you don't have much room for that much spiky fur. But what's most important are the proportions and shapes that make up the Pokemon. The proportions of this Fakemon aren't bad actually, since real rabbits already have the proportions of a Pokemon, but I'll simplify things like the horn. So let's do this. So as you see, I'm starting off with simple circles to represent a lot of the body parts. The original's arms and legs were too small compared to its head, and I wanted to give the impression that its fur is soft and puffy, so its limbs will definitely look fuller and less dainty. Now the most significant change is that instead of generic horns, I'll make the horns out of lightning. You always want to think of ways to make each detail, especially the prominent ones, match the theme of the design instead of going straight to the default traits like a simple normal horn. That's why the neck fur isn't just going to be staticky white fur, it'll be straight up electricity, like the tail and horns. In the original design, the horn, neck, fur, and tail looked like they were all made of different material, but now they're much more cohesive and simplified, just like the head. Good Pokemon designs often have some sort of contrast. You don't want to make every part of its body staticky, so its fur is smooth while the electricity on its body is jagged. This makes it both cute and dangerous looking, which is exactly what a successful Pokemon exhibits. The original design also had a vacant expression, while this one will look more alert. Just refined it a bit more before simplifying the pattern on the original design's ear and the eyelashes. The colors will be bluer in tone and have a contrast between light and dark. The face looks a bit empty, so in the final design I added a completely different muzzle. Its snout will be white to match with the electricity. Here is Shockalope, the frenetic Pokemon, an electric fighting type. This Pokemon can sense electric fields surrounding it, allowing it to instantly notice any Pokemon or human that enters its territory. They're extremely cautious and will dart away without hesitation when confronted with a supposed threat. Their electrified muscles allow Shockalope to jump 10 times their height in any direction. If confronted with an opponent their size, they will attack with their lightning horns. Males are especially aggressive when competing for a mate or protecting their kits. If captured, they can easily pierce their foe with their head, tail, or collar, which can grow in size when provoked. It's tough to gain the trust of a Shockalope, but when friendly, they'll let their guard down. They have the abilities Static, Lightning Rod, and Quick Feet. I imagine that Shockalope has the potential to be both a single-stage Pokemon or the pre-evolution of a badass, big-horned Jackalope. It was incredibly fun finding ways to modernize the original design. It almost felt like I was an art director updating the designs of a coworker. Obviously, Toxiroxis gets credit for making my job easy by laying down pretty much all the groundwork. Now we have Beetya, a design by Enigmon Official, a Pokemon-inspired game. Now a lot of Pokemon-inspired games tend to have a different design philosophy from Pokemon, so since they're not bound by the rules of Pokemon's designs, Fakemon like Beetya wouldn't work in the Pokemon games. It's a fun design with a lot of personality and some clever design elements, but my job is to translate Beetya into an actual pocket monster. This design looks more like a sentient beet person with a leaf ponytail and dress, which isn't exactly how I think Pokemon would tackle such a concept. For my interpretation, I'll take some inspiration from boxers and give it more of a gender-neutral appearance. So we'll start by giving it the head of a beet. Its nose will look more like a root, and the eyelashes will have this root-like aesthetic as well. It'll look more menacing than the original design too. Now its arms are going to be beet boxing gloves, and its legs will be roots too. Again, the general rule in Pokemon is to not just give your designs default traits like humanoid legs and arms, but at least try to implement some kind of traits that match the theme of the character. I'll make its ponytail leaf look more like the leaves of an actual beet plant, and even add eyebrow patterns that the original design had. It'll also match the patterns on the beet arms. The collar will also have a leaf shape that matches the ponytail, instead of being an arbitrary collar. Just refining the design and borrowing the patterns on Beetya's dress, and giving my design these patterns that look like boxing shorts. The colors are pretty much the same as the original, but more consistent instead of having multiple shades of green and magenta. The original design has a gradient from pink to white on the nose and limbs, but I decided to keep that out because actual beets actually get darker in the end, not lighter like I assumed too. Here is Beetya, the beet Pokemon, a grass and fighting type. Beetya loves to compete with willing fighters. It isn't afraid to practice its moves with those triple its size. They're extremely confident in their power and will train constantly. The more they hydrate, the bigger their beet fists become. Their sweat is blood red and is even nutritious. Their sweat is often used as dye. Those willing to harvest Beetya's sweat must square up and give Beetya a good workout. After an intense sparring session, Beetya will always be friendly with those that push it past their limits. Beetya is honorable and kind despite their resting grimace. They live in relatively cold environments and are resistant to low temperatures. They have the abilities Iron Fist, Hustle, and Sheer Force. Enigmon officials stated that the male Beetya are white, so I decided to make the shiny that color. It was so satisfying completely overhauling the design, cause now we have two different interpretations of the same concept. Very intriguing. I'm a huge fan of the combo of green and magenta, so I was instantly attached to Enigmon officials Beetya. And just right now as I'm recording, I realized that I made this concept an entire pun on beatboxing. That's hilarious. Now we're gonna redesign Edward Rex's Bismoth. It's basically a moth with wings and body parts made of bismuth, this iridescent metal that crystallizes in this amazing shape. It's pretty sick, and I'm all for a simple concept that comes from a visual pun. This concept pretty much has everything I need. All I'm gonna do is simplify it and draw it in a Sugimori style. There are a bit too many details on this bug, so my interpretation will be a little bit less cluttered. I'm going to start by fully designing the body before moving on to the wings, which will be the main feature. I like the contrast between this Pokemon's angry face and pretty wings, so I'll keep its frown, but I think its eyes are too basic. I gave him more moth-like compound eyes that also match the swirly bismuth shape of its wings and antenna. Now it'll be more cohesive, slightly less complicated antennas, and I originally wanted to give it some bismuth on its body too, but decided that the contrast between a furry body and a metallic wings could be more appealing, just like in the original design. The rest of the body will match its face though. Now it's time for the wings. I thought the design flowed better if the square swirls at the end faced downwards instead of upwards like the original design. And again, it'll have 4 wings instead of like 10. And the colors will be separate instead of mixing together. This will also give it the lines that Bismuth has. I picked up more saturated version of the pastel colors the original wings had, and contrasted that with the black and white body. It almost looks like this Pokemon represents the primary colors of ink with green. This could be the mascot of a printer ink cartridge company. Behold, Bismoth, the iridescent Pokemon, a bug and steel type. Bismoth are attracted to light as it changes the color of its wings at different angles, confusing its opponents. As its wings flap, they change color, making it tricky to predict the movements of this Pokemon. They're very popular for their colors, but rather cranky. They spread a metallic powder that constantly flashes. This powder has been used as pigment and medicine since ancient times. The older they get, the more their wings oxidize and become even more colorful. However, the older they get, the more stubborn they become. However, their antisocial nature makes them extremely loyal to those they trust. Their wings are dense and tough, and highly resistant to radiation. They have a new ability called Iridescent, which raises its evasiveness in normal weather by 1 stage and raises it by 2 stages in harsh sunlight. Its hidden ability is Stalwart. This was a pleasure to design. It was fun taking the original design and seamlessly translating it into a new art style. It's the same exact Pokemon as the original. I didn't really change much, but all the subtle changes really amount to this new design. Bismoth is a fantastic Fakemon, so thank you, Edward. But before moving on to the final design, here are some honorable mentions that almost made it into the video. This Fakemon by Sra Meow is a really well-designed character that can fit in another video game, but it's a concept that wouldn't work in Pokemon, in my opinion. Poutage is another great character design. It's got personality, but there's some logic that would have to be reworked if it were to fit in Pokemon. Uluru is very close to being here. I like how it's got an actual, cultural inspiration. We had another bismuth-based design, this time by Theodore S.H. Bulldoze is another amazing pun and the design is great. These two by Bismoth already look like Pokemon. I would only make the combination of Grenade and Lizard more seamless. I would literally not change a thing about Nora the Clown's designs, so there was no reason to pick it. I was gonna use Bubbatream here, but after more consideration, there wasn't much I was gonna change. Same with these designs by Julian Okishner. All I would have done was convert it into Pokemon style. Cephostro was close to being on the video, but it's another one I simply would have converted into Pokemon style without changing anything but the colors. Simply Vincenzo's Pokemon were too good to change. I was about to use Runchar here, but unfortunately I explicitly said to give me designs with white backgrounds. I wouldn't have changed anything about Hidippo, all it needs is shading. And finally, these designs that Lucas made were all amazing. He's clearly a good artist, so there's no reason for me to do anything other than just advising him to make these designs a bit cuter, since Sugimori's philosophy has always been to add something adorable or goofy to balance out the more hardcore and extreme designs. The last one I picked was Ari's Taphoon, the final evolution in this line of water types. I definitely wanted to redesign at least one traditionally drawn Fakemon, especially by some younger fan, because I know that when I was 11, I would have been so happy if an artist redesigned my own Fakemon. Ari's final evolution, Taphoon, is a combo of a Baird's Tapir and a Dart Gun. I rarely see any water-type Tapir Fakemon, so this is nice. I'm barely going to change anything conceptually, honestly. All I'm going to do is draw it in a Pokemon style. Obviously, I'll tone down some of the extra features like most of the water floating above it and some of the patterns, but it's pretty much Ari's Taphoon. I'm going to make it a bit fatter than the original design, and I'll give it some wider hips so it can hold up its big belly. It'll be less top heavy than the original Taphoon. The eyes are straight up the same, and the muscles are more anatomical. I'm giving it fingers instead of hooves. In the original design, the patterns are a little fiery, so I'm going to make them more fluid like water, and the tail will connect to the water mane. But I'm just refining it and adding Ari's colors, making the water transparent, but since that was last minute decision, I forgot to add the other ear. Here is the starter Pokemon, Taphoon, the Cascade Pokemon, a water and psychic Pokemon. Taphoon can shoot pressurized water from its snout and control it with telekinesis, so it never misses. It can also guide any moisture surrounding it into its water main, allowing it to easily hydrate and restore power. The patterns on its body move like waves, disorienting and even hypnotizing its opponents. This Pokemon is rather serious and skilled in battle, but can act quite silly around friends and even clumsy when it's totally relaxed. It has been found to share an ancestor with Musharna and Hypno. It has the ability Torrent and the hidden ability Water Absorb. It was so cool seeing a drawing on paper turn into a Sugimori-style digital design. It felt like I was updating one of my own drawings from my childhood. If you want to see part 2, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to know when that comes out. Remember to follow the instructions at the beginning of the video if you want to participate in the next episode of this potential series. And make sure to check out the description for the music I used, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Twitter, which you need to follow to take part in this fun. I'll see you guys very soon.